me. Come on, guys. How much more proof do you need? I just don't even understand what I have to do. What do I have to do? I feel like it doesn't matter. If I provided you like official government documents, you wouldn't believe it. If suddenly Jesus appeared in my shit right behind me and he was like, "You guys, I'm totally with this guy. This guy's super cool." You wouldn't believe it. What else do you need? What kind of proof do you need? What kind of deep dive do you need? Whatever the subject is, we blindly look it up. And if it happens to make all the sense, then we acknowledge it makes sense. But that doesn't seem to happen very often. And it shouldn't be that way. It's the historical official narrative. It should be concrete. My dumbass shouldn't be able to pick things apart. And to me, that it's fucked up. Like it's not like that's what I want it to be. It just works out that way. And I don't get it. Again, most of the time it's blind. If it's a new subject, it's not like I've looked it up previously and I'm like, oh, I gotta read this because it makes things look good. I don't know what the fuck it is. It could say anything. At this point, along the lines of the argument, I've looked up a lot of stuff already. But anytime it's something new, and even if it's the old stuff, it shouldn't work that way. I shouldn't be able to read you the official narrative and then point something out and you go, huh, that is kind of weird. Or that doesn't make any sense. For those of you that think like, I know that perspective. I don't know I never had the religious perspective. I can't relate to it at all. At no point in my history did I ever believe that there's a God thing, it always with my cousin, because at night she would do her mom they would do prayers. And I don't know if they would always do prayers or if they would just do them because I was there, but they would do prayer. So, why not? Pray Lord my soul to take. No, that wasn't it. That wasn't the one they would do. What was the one they would do? Yes, Our Father, that one. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us, and deliver us from evil. Amen. Is that it? As we forgive those who trespass against us. I don't remember the rest. And I only know it because I heard it. And I can remember like feeling stupid and thinking like you guys really believe this? Right? Like I never, it just always seemed silly to me. And I I can't tell that when I was 5 or something that I don't, but I just know it just as far back as I can remember, I have zero connection to it. Even doing and shit and having those really awful lightning. Like I still, there was never any hint that Christianity was real. If anything, it made it all seem more fake, more obvious. But I do know that perspective of like, well, science is infallible. If science says it's true, then it's true. You know, not understanding that science is literally the same shit as religion. You know, according to science, gravity waves exist. When stars explode or whatever, there are gravity waves. And we know that because they were detected one day. One day, one of the satellites detected them. And nobody says, well, how did you build a system that can detect something you didn't know existed? And that's you know, like there's a lot of the narrative exists in that way where they just sort of tell you shit and you go, oh, okay. But if you actually stop and like, wait a minute, you know, gravity, you had gravity wave detectors on a thing that discovered gravity waves because you didn't know they exist. Like, seriously, do you guys not get how stupid that is? And then you start digging and you start looking and you start asking questions and you find out all those doctors, those 88 or 100, whatever it is, doctors over the last few years that unalive them, sometimes going as far as shooting themselves in the head twice. You know, everyone that ever goes against the narrative ends up doing something stupid like that. Why? Where's the connection to that? Where's the connection to, you know what? I think I've discovered something that goes against the narrative. I'm going to end it all. That just doesn't make any sense. And you know, every single one of those stories is as fishy as it gets, including the lack of investigation, the open and shut nature of the case. And, you know, it's you can also think about it from other perspectives. Like, you know, you waste your fucking time going to super expensive school to get a degree in theoretical physics, you know, specializing in uh, star formulation or gravity, this, that, and the other, whatever it is. And you are world renowned, so you have all this prestige. You get paid really, really well. You live a really great life, and you don't do very much. Your literal title is theoretical, so you sort of just sit around and like think about shit and talk about shit. And you have this gig that is really, really nice, but as we know, most people, doesn't matter how much money you make, you're still living basically check to check. You might have a little bit in the bank, but you're a few bad decisions away from my life or worse, you know. And so you have, like, you know, you have your big house, your $1 million house in your really nice neighborhood. So you have your house payment, your insurance, your homeowners association dues. You have a car, your wife has a car. You know, obviously leases. So lease payment, full coverage insurance, obviously you have to have it. And then you have, you know, your two kids also have cars. So you have to pay all that insurance. Everyone has a cell phone. You have to pay all that. whatever clubs or anything like that that the kids belong to. You got to pay for that. Maybe even have them in private schools, so you're paying for that. Your wife, she does what she does. She does her shopping and all that other shit. You got a trophy wife. She's got to look shiny, right? You couldn't get that girl in school, but now, you've blossomed into you're not as much of a nerd, plus you got money and a good job, which gives you confidence that you would have never had otherwise. But now you have this whole identity is wrapped up in what you do. It's not who you are. It's what you do, because if you take away what you do, all of that falls apart. Discovered the same thing you did. And he wouldn't keep quiet. And you're like, "What do you mean?" And they just sort of look at you. And they walk away. And now you have to make that decision. Do I risk everything to expose the truth? Or do I play along and live a really great life? And my kids live a great life, and their kids live a great life. How many of you are gonna choose the first option and make your shit a lot harder? He was making a good point. What happened? Don't know what you're talking about. You gotta be more Pacific, Craig. Gotta love it. There are an infinite number of other options for people to do. Not just on YouTube, but, on the phone that they have that has games and has different websites and Vimeo and all these, Instagram and Snapchat and all these Facebook, all these different things that you could be spending time on. Fine, bye. That is. Well, so interesting how they're fucking with the feed today. I mean, what else could it be? Like, make it make sense. Understand, I'm in the same United States that you guys are in. I'm in a suburban neighborhood just outside of Detroit that is surrounded by cell phone towers. It's flat everywhere here. I'm in a building surrounded by aluminum siding, so it's one giant antenna, and I'm on the second floor. We have T-Mobile, right? I think we have T-Mobile. Like, it's what is happening here? This doesn't make any sense. Well, it only makes sense one way, I should say. And if you disagree, again, I'd love to hear why. Please elaborate. Help me understand so I don't feel as crazy. Whatever I was talking about, I fucking forgot. Because I've been trying to catch the feed up, so it worked. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else I can provide you guys to get you to see it. Or at the very least, question it. It's asking questions. This is fucking insane. This is insane. In the land of the free and the home of the brave and free speech and all that shit. What am I doing that is so I mean about it, right? It's so bad but it's fake. I'm lying, right? Why is somebody that's lying such a focus point, such a point of interest? Some delusional fool who is just making things up as he goes, and who's bad at it. I'm bad at what I do. What the fuck is going on? This isn't how it works for people. There are so many dumbasses out there that make a great fucking living, doing nothing. It's just wild. I just don't understand. Jesus Christ. Here comes part 2. It's going to do it again. What the fuck was I saying when they kept shutting it down? I don't understand. I know I was saying something. What was the good point I was making? Come on, Craig. I need your help there, bud. What is going on today? I would imagine from your perspective it's pretty irritating. Yeah. Probably don't want to watch a feed that's going to just keep fucking up the whole time. Why would you want to? Such a difficult task. You wouldn't think it would be like this. But the only way I can make it make sense is if I'm right. And there's more to what's happening than people realize. What the fuck am I doing here? Talking to 4 people. Right? Like, if I didn't think it was more than this, I'd stop. I don't even know what I'm doing. I wish I wasn't like this, you guys. I wish I was like you. And I don't think you realize, like, that's what I'm trying to do. I would give anything to have somebody come through this feed one day and just make sense. Make sense. Show me what I'm wrong about. Show me the right direction. And I can be like, oh, look, I'm happy now. I'm blissful. I'm not going to be concerned with the genocide because I guess that's God's plan. That's how God wants things to be. Likes the idea of starving children and child grapes and all that good shit. Yeah, sounds good. Okay, blah blah. I get to go to heaven.
Are you sure?
Like even the concept of heaven.
Who's heaven? Because the Jehovah's is their room.
It better be. I've been walking up and down these streets all my life. There better be a spot for me.
Don't the Muslims have a limited number of seating too?
I have no idea. I can't even comprehend what heaven could possibly be.
Who's right?
I mean, it's such a... Okay, so what is it? Is it like a bunch of cubicles where everybody has what they want in their cubicle? And I mean, how does it, do we all have big mansions like that movie?
The Chinese and the Tibetans all believe in resurrection.
I don't know. So I don't know how do you get people to say it would go against their identity, so they keep the false narratives. Yeah, that's what I was saying about, that's what I was talking about with the degree. You know, if you have the degree in whatever it is and you get blacklisted, you don't, you lose everything. But I just don't know, man. It's be careful. You too. Um, you know, it I most of the time I don't see the benefit, but like it's weird, right? Because there is no benefit that comes from actually being religious outside of the fact that other religious people will show you favor as opposed to, what I would receive, right? So it may seem like it's working to your advantage to be religious, but that's only because people are so, you know, innately fucking racist almost, not racist, but religionist, xenophobic. I don't know. But it creates that weird little place where, you know, you're wrong, but because everybody else is wrong, that makes it right somehow. I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like I would have to be dumbed way, way down to ignore everything because like, again, it's not like I ever bring up abstract kind of weird left field, I don't think it's okay that people like feet. I think feet are gross, so nobody should I'm not doing shit like that. The majority of my message is tolerance, but there's no tolerance for the intolerant. And really, I say that, but my tolerance goes. I don't think we should exterminate all of those that disagree, unless it's the pedo stuff. Then just fuck you. I don't give a shit. But I do think that like again, when I win the presidency in 2028, first thing is going to be it's illegal to be a cult member. We'll get to the Christian cult members next. But the friar thing, if you want to be a friar, go to Israel. We're going to set you up. We're going to get you your plane ride. You can have what you want. You can be a part of your cult. And I'm going to do everything I can to get the Palestinians out. Set them up nice here. If you're a Palestinian and you survived what's happened so far, then, you get to come here and we're going to set you up. You're going to live for free. I don't give a shit what anybody has to say. What you've endured because of us over the last few years is worth a lifetime of payment. Absolutely. And I know that won't make me popular. Oh well. I question your motivations. If you're mad at me for that, where's your motivation lie? What are you upset about? Like, nothing you've experienced in your life compares to what those people have experienced in the last 2 years because of us. So, I mean, I just, I get that you're like, yeah, well, I don't have this, and I agree. We should absolutely work towards an autonomous society where nobody has to work, but if you want to, it's available. And or if people do have to work, it's only 2-3 hours a day, 3-4 days a week. Like this just insanity that we live in is broken. It's just broken. you could say things like there's no way you couldn't do that. There are jobs like that couldn't be done by machines, like plumbers, right? You know, you'd have to have somebody to be the plumber. But there are people out there that would love that. There are people out there that would love to be the guy that helps people. And if you don't want to be somebody that contributes, you don't have to. Like, how do we know that at some point you're not going to come up with some really great idea? You'll come up with a great idea that will the entire be better for because of that idea. We wouldn't have had it without you. So, you know, or maybe it's your offspring, or maybe it's not even your best friend, right? Maybe it's just a guy that you know that one day they were much more depressed than you realized they were, and you just happened to run into them. You got to talking, whatever you did or said. Shit, maybe you spilled your guts about how shitty your life is. And just you doing that to them on that honest level made them realize how much better their lives are and they need to stop bitching. And it was a turning point for them. And they went on to cure AIDS. Who knows? But, your contribution as the guy that just spilled your shit to that person, even though you contributed nothing, you're the reason why it happened. If you wouldn't have done that, he would have, killed himself that night or drank himself into a stupor and killed those brain cells that were going to come up with that idea. Who knows? The rat race needs to come to an end. I mean, I think it is. I think it's coming to an end. I think if you look at the way things work, you see that people are fed up. People are resisting the programming at higher and higher levels. Those who identify as a religion, those numbers are down across the board, and they keep dropping. It's for me, it's so because 10 years ago, when I'm talking about Israel and I'm talking about the friars and I'm getting the pushback, 5 years ago, when I'm talking about the friars and, especially 2019, well, 2020 is when I made the declaration. That was my New Year's resolution, was that I was going to no longer be distracted by chemtrails all the time and vaccines and all these other things, because they all lead to the same source. So I'm going to start talking about how do we cut off Israel. The goal was to cut off Israel and use that money to create an official government pedophile hunter group. $3.8 billion a year would create a pretty substantial pedophile hunter group. So that was the initial New Year's resolution, and it quickly evolved. The more you look into it, the more you realize the Israel narrative is much stronger than you think. And so to be the guy that was chastised by even my own kind, telling me, dude, you need to focus on chemtrails. Go back to talking about chemtrails. You can't keep talking about the friars like that. You can't keep, you're going to get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. To now see where it is substantial. Like, I can comfortably say that I was saying all this shit way before it was the popular thing to say. Back when it was very unpopular to say. And it's kind kind of hard to trust it, but at the same time, there's no way it goes away. There's literally no way they could put the cap back on this fucking bottle. You know, they'll never push the toothpaste back in the tube. How? How could they? You know, the way that the dominoes are falling because of their brazen, you know, just callous genocide that they're just bragging about like assholes on every TV station they can. And then the media aspect that we can all inform things that maybe we didn't know about. Like, you're never going to make us, like, technology is going to keep progressing. Everything's going to keep moving forward. Nothing ever stops and goes backward. You know, even their best efforts, like we were a lot better under Obama. As just a people, we were a lot better. We were a lot less divided. And we have seemingly gone backwards in some regards, but we can't because, you know, you go look at the phones that were available in Obama days and you're going to laugh. Go look at the styles and all that shit. It's going to be forever ago. And so you're seeing it. By the way, if you're watching this, like, share, and sub. They're really fucking with my shit. I need your help. Takes 2 seconds for you to share this on Facebook or wherever. Just help the fuck out. Come on. Like, share. Helps. I don't see how this ever, how the cat gets back in the bag. I don't see how this works out any other way than it's kind of negative. I mean, you know, I don't believe in nukes, but, you know, I believe they have a substantial arsenal. And when you know about the Samson option, which is, you don't deserve a good internet. Yeah, I know. Because I expose way too much of your narrative and you guys don't like that. I know. It'd be one thing if you could argue against me, my internet would be fine. Right? If you guys could come here and make me look stupid and feel like, you know, feel like big dicks when, you know, you don't have them, you would absolutely allow it to happen. But because you know that you know, there's going to be things I say that you can't argue, they're going to make you look stupid and all that stuff. You know, you need this buffer, this bit of protection. Goy don't deserve it. Yep. Are you homeless? Yes, I'm homeless. That's what it's me. I'm homeless. So, it's a really interesting read. The Samson option. It's Wikipedia, and most importantly, this page is locked. So anybody that wants to cry that anybody could edit Wikipedia, not this page. The Samson option is Israel's deterrence strategy of massive retaliation with nuclear weapons as a, quote, last resort against any country whose military has invaded, in most important word here, and or destroyed much of Israel. So they don't even have to be destroyed. They could just claim that there's a large invasion happening. And that could be justification. Commenters have also employed the term to refer to situations where non-nuclear, non-Israeli actors have threatened conventional weapons retaliation. The name is in reference to the biblical Israelite judge Samson, who pushed apart the pillars of a Philistine temple, bringing down the roof and killing himself and thousands of Philistines who had captured him. Right? Because magically some friar got superpowers and pulled down the pillars he was chained to, because, you know, that's possible. Israel refuses to confirm or deny it has nuclear weapons, or to describe how it would use them, a policy of deliberate ambiguity known as nuclear ambiguity or nuclear opacity. This has made it difficult for anyone outside the Israeli government to describe the country's true nuclear policy definitively. Shut up, dog. While still allowing Israel to influence the perception, strategies, and actions of other governments. However, over the years, some Israeli leaders have publicly acknowledged their country's nuclear capability. Ephraim Katzir in 1974, Moshe Dayan in 1981, Shimon Peres in 1988, and Ehud Olmert in 2006. During his 2006 confirmation hearings before the United States Senate regarding his appointment as George W. Bush's Secretary of Defense, Robert Gates admitted that Israel had nuclear weapons. Just 2 years later, in 2008, former U.S. President Jimmy Carter stated the number of nuclear weapons held by Israel to be 150 or more. Do you guys know UN inspectors? It's a play. It's like an act in the play. There's like sections of the play that are about this. And you have like, this is getting fun, isn't it? I thought if I moved over here, it wouldn't do that anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's all just bullshit. But remember the UN inspectors thing, and it was like this big deal because Iran wouldn't let the UN inspectors come see their shit. Iran doesn't cooperate. Iran doesn't do this. Iran. Israel is so much. Israel is not only does Israel not allow shit. Israel just says, go fuck yourself. Like, we don't give a shit what you say. We don't comply. We don't have to listen to you. You guys, like, they don't hold back. And everybody's like, okay, thanks, Israel. I remember seeing a map, maybe 10 years ago, maybe more, where it showed the countries in the world that had nuclear capabilities. And the red countries were the ones that did. The blue countries didn't. And then there was one purple country, and that was the one that didn't, that we didn't know. And again, there's that other the oblast, the Jewish oblast, the Jewish Federation Oblast, or I don't remember what it's called. The country outside of Russia that's actually bigger than Israel, that if they just went there wouldn't be any issues. They wouldn't be, have to commit genocide, or there wouldn't be condemnation. It would be nothing. They have their own country already, and nobody talks about it. It's really fucking weird. Google says Israel has around 90 warheads. Yeah, well, we know who controls Google. In his 2008 book, Culture of War, Martin Van Creveld, a professor of military history at Israel's Hebrew University, wrote that since Gates admitted that Israel had nuclear weapons, listen to this, any talk of Israel's nuclear weapons in Israel can lead to arrest, trial, and imprisonment. Thus, Israeli commenters talk in euphemisms such as doomsday weapons and the Samson option. So they've made it illegal there for you to expose what they have. That's fucking wild. Nevertheless, as early as they believed that Israel possessed 10 to 20 nuclear weapons. By 2002, it's estimated that the number had increased between 75 and 200 thermal nuclear weapons, each in the multiple megaton range. Kenneth S. Bauer has estimated as many as 400 nuclear weapons. These can be launched from land, sea, and air. This gives Israel a second strike option even if much of the country is destroyed. Right? You know what's the most important weapon they have with this? Belief. Because as long as you believe that they have this and that they're capable of this, you're much less likely to do this. As I said this the other day and I had gotten interrupted by something, but there's that scene in Clerks where him and the girl are sitting behind the counter and he has the change up, he has an ashtray or whatever full of change and a little note that says, you know, you're being watched, please take the correct change. And she was like, aren't you worried people aren't going to do it? And he said, no, studies have shown that when people think they're being watched, they're going to do the right thing. And it's about belief, right? So if you believe that Israel will kill everybody with thermonuclear weapons, should they ever get butthurt, you're much less likely to put them in that scenario. And it's the same thing with the Iron Dome and why they spend so much effort promoting their Iron Dome. You know, they set up, they have agreed upon coordinates, then they send their rocket launchers into whatever area it is. They launch the missiles into that airspace with probably fail safes to explode if they don't get shot or whatever it is. And then they shoot them down. And then they broadcast to the world that yet again Israel was attacked. 400 missiles were launched at Israel. The Iron Dome took out 90% of them, which still leaves 40 fucking hits, 40 times, but they don't talk about that 40. But still. And that was back when the attack happened on the U.S. Air Force Base, that Trump denied anything was wrong. Then it turned out something was wrong, and you know, and then there was the big strike in response, and there was that whole disaster. Remember? But they spend a whole bunch of effort creating narratives to be shown to the world so that everybody knows without a shadow of a doubt, not only does Israel have an Iron Dome, but this motherfucker is like 99% effective anymore. Nowadays, they talk about it, you know, at 99% every time. The 1% that gets through are missiles that they analyzed won't hit anything or will fall short or whatever, so they let those fall. And so you're constantly shown this narrative that if you were to shoot a missile into Israel, it's going to be a waste of your time, a waste of your effort, a waste of your money. And then Iran went and fucked it all up. Because Iran had one strike on Israel in this last little kerfuffle that happened. Whatever bullshit ended up happening, we don't know. But we know that Iran launched a strike on Israel and destroyed some mansions in the process. If you look at the damage that occurred because of those strikes, it was fucking mansions. Big giant mansions were hit. Because they all have big giant fucking government paid for mansions. Well, U.S. taxpayer paid for mansions. In 1991, American investigative journalist, Pulitzer Prize winning political writer Seymour Hersh authored the book Samson Option: Israel's Nuclear Arsenal and American Foreign Policy. In the preface of the book, he writes, "This is a book about how Israel became a nuclear power in secret. It also tells how that secret was shared, sanctioned, and at times willfully ignored by the top political and military officials of the United States since the Eisenhower years." Defense doctrine. Although nuclear weapons were viewed as the ultimate guarantor of Israeli security as early as the 1960s, The country avoided building its military around them, instead pursuing absolute conventional superiority so as to forestall a last resort nuclear engagement. Yeah, that's why. It's because they didn't exist. So instead of chasing these theoretical super weapons, which as long as they don't chase the theoretical super weapons, it's not a big news story. As long as they're getting, they're just being given, 50 Apache helicopters. Well, none of those are nuclear, so who cares? Remember, like, I don't know, a year plus, it's been at least a year, where they were coming on here and they were like, dude, you have no idea. Tomorrow, there's going to be some big news about the Ben Gurion channel. The Ben Gurion channel. That's the next big thing. That's the next. This was maybe even 2 years ago. And they kept saying it was going to happen tomorrow. And it obviously didn't happen tomorrow. But the Ben Gurion channel is a big fucking deal. And I don't even talk about it. I should talk about it more. The original conception of the Samson option was only as deterrence. Again, it's a deterrence strategy. You tell people you have the biggest, baddest. You come in my house, you're going to get shot by automatic weapons that I have set up with laser scopes and sensors everywhere that point at the door or any window. And if you come in this way, you're gonna get shot, or you're gonna get bit by the big fucking dogs, whatever it is. Having dogs out in front of your house. There are people that go around looking for licks, looking to hit a lick somewhere. They ride around in their car looking for suckers. And if they see a big dog in your neighborhood, in your yard, they just check that out and fuck that. Why would I bother with the house with the big fucking dog when I can just go to any number of the houses that don't have a dog? It's a deterrence strategy. And that's literally what the Samson option is. It's big dogs in the yard. It's there to make you think twice before you decide to cross that fucking line. According to American journalist Seymour Hersh and Israeli historian Avner Cohen, Israeli leaders like David Ben-Gurion, Shimon Peres, Levi Eshkol, and Moshe Dayan coined the phrase in the mid-60s. How did all those guys coin one phrase? They named it after the biblical figure Samson, who pushed apart the pillars of the Philistine temple, bringing down the roof and killing himself and thousands of Philistines who had captured him, mutilated him, and gathered to see him further humiliated in chains as retribution for his massacres of their people. Like, they love to paint themselves as the victims. Like, how dare these Goyim ever do anything? How dare they do this? How dare they speak out against us? All we did was massacre them. All he did was massacre their people. So then these damn Goyim, they chained him up and they tortured him and humiliated him. They humiliated him. How dare they? They humiliated him. All they did was massacre their people. We're always the victims. And all of their stories, always are impossible. Do you understand? Without Exodus, there is no Judaism. It doesn't work. You have to have the Exodus narrative to have modern day Judaism. And yet, the Exodus narrative is it takes the cake. It's as dumb as it gets. It's so dumb that every historian, anyone who has any sort of anything other than them being a friar readily says, yeah, no, it's an impossible story. It's just impossible. 2 million friars wandering the desert for 40 years, collecting manna each morning as their source of food and drink. Manna that God provided on the desert sand, all that sandy manna. Can you imagine only eating a pasty, nasty substance for 40 years? Oh, how fucking ridiculous. Just ridiculous. But I mean, even this story. So you have this magical friar who had massacred all these people, and now he's being humiliated, tortured and humiliated. And he somehow gets the magical strength to push down these giant, granite, marble pillar, whatever it is, holding the temple up. He pushes it down with his bare hands because he turns into Superman. I would have said Super J, but I just would have gotten, I don't want to say. Super Friar. Philistines who captured him, mutilated him, and gathered to see him further humiliated in chains as retribution for his massacres of their people. They contrasted it with this ancient siege of Masada, where 936, not 935, not 930, 936, Friar Sakari committed mass unaliving rather than be defeated and enslaved by the Romans. So the Romans walked around. They were like, all right, let's go get him. And then they went to get him. And they were all dead. And they were like, all right, make sure you count every single one of these people so we can. So thousands of years later, when they're looking it up on Wikipedia, they know it's exactly 936. Okay? Cliff, you're good at counting. Fuck, do you guys believe this? No, let me you have to believe this shit. Any of you who claim to be Christian, you have to. It doesn't matter whether you're fucking 2005 modern day big brain sees any holes in this narrative or, can easily pull it apart as anybody with fucking common sense should. It doesn't matter. You believe it because, well, it's the Bible. And the Bible is true because the Bible says it is. Like, the thing is, the Bible is real big on that. The Bible doesn't say to you, this is the truth. We're so confident that this is the truth that we encourage you to look around and see if you can find any other truth that makes more sense to you, And because we know how that we are the truth, we know that it's impossible for you to find something better. We encourage you to look because, that's how confident we are. That's not what it's. The Bible is like, you better not look at anything else. The Bible's like that crazy woman that makes you walk with your head down. Or man that makes you walk with your fight. I'm going to fight somebody because they're talking to my girl. Those guys. It's so weird. The Bible has no confidence. It's because it's bullshit. But it's very, very like, you better not. Oh man, you better not. It's not nearly as bad as the friar shit though. Like, you learn about Yahweh and what a horrible horrible, awful deity Yahweh is. And you then have to ask yourself, like at least the Christian narrative is that of this nice old white man with his white beard, and he's got his, he's handing out candy, and that's just God. God's just a nice old white guy, big white beard, looks like Santa Claus. Got on a toga, so he can have a good time. He's just, he's a nice little white guy. No, like the Yahweh is just a total motherfucker. Total, like, horrible. Why would anybody ever want to believe in such an insane monster narrative? And it again, the Israel Hayom Bottom of Darkness article comes into play. I think that's the key. I really do think that the solution to how we can make the world a better place starts with protecting the Jewish children. And I know that's sort of counterintuitive to what most people would think I would have to say, but I don't want band-aids, I want solutions. And part of the solution is dissolving the insanity, destroying the cult. But the only way you can do that is, taking it from the inside out. You have to address what's going on. And when the cult uses ritualistic SA in a two-part cycle to create the soldiers necessary, this has to be done. That there is no arguing this. This is a very, very big deal. And it's not just the people that are, like, you have to understand that if I know about it, me, the dumb Goyim outsider, why would anyone bow down to a shithead God like that? Because of what I'm talking about. Because the ritual SA is much more commonplace than people think it is. Much more commonplace than what's talked about. You don't have a ritual that is associated with transcendence and redemption inside of a cult that damn near every fucking holiday, especially Yom Kippur, is all about that redemption. And again, taking a little sidebar, nobody talks about what was that terrorist attack that happened in the UK, where the guy was supposedly driving a car and didn't manage to hit anybody, but crashed the car, I guess, hurt some people. I don't know. The story's so weird. Let's look at this. Let's look this up. Let's see what it says. All right, let's see. Yom Kippur attack in England. An attack occurred at Heatington Park Hebrew Congregational Synagogue in Manchester, England, on October 2nd, 2025, the day of Yom Kippur. 2 friar worshippers were killed and 3 other men were seriously injured in the terrorist incident. Now, again, this is one of those things where you just almost have to let, like, 2 people? That's not a very well done attack. That's like a really, like, to think that you're going to end your life by doing an attack that does nothing when there are literally so many options for you to do. You've seen it time and time again in movies, all the crazy things you can do. Fill a car with gasoline or blah, whatever. Like, there's so many things you could do. And you hear about these narratives where 2 people, at least one of them was killed by a gunshot in which the terrorist had no gun. So it was the police that killed at least one of them. I know that was the narrative. I don't know if that's still the narrative. Date and time. The attack took place on Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, around 9:30 BST. As congregants were gathered for Yom Kippur services. Perpetrator. The assailant was identified as Jihad el-Shami. Come on. Jihad el-Shame. A 35-year-old Syrian-born British citizen who lived nearby. He was shot dead by armed police at the scene after he ran aggressively towards them with a knife and a fake suicide belt. For what? What is the purpose of that? Like, seriously, what is the best case scenario that guy could have hoped for? Obviously, planning went into it. So you couldn't say, well, he was just crazy. Right? So obviously there was some sort of planning that went into it. What could you ever hope for in that situation other than what happened? Like, this is why I don't ever buy these things. I don't buy these don't make sense narratives that I just have to have faith that the system isn't lying to me. I have to have faith that even though it doesn't fucking fit, it sure is weird, right? Method. Al-Shami drove a car into a security guard and external gates, then got out and attacked people with a knife. He tried to force his way into the synagogue, but congregants and the rabbi held the doors shut, preventing further casualties inside the building, as they always do. This is literally Grafton Thomas all over again, just on a different holiday. Like, to me, if there hasn't been a huge investigation into this, and we don't, like, if it's already we're supposed to have forgotten and it was, or the narrative was immediately available, these are things where it just seems really strange. It seems so manufactured. Motive. During a 999 call to police, El-Shami... So, not only did he do this, he called the police and pledged allegiance to the Islamic State group, and the attack has been officially declared as a terrorist incident. Seriously. Like, do they think we're all just dumbass children? I mean, so then, as he's being all crazy because he's just a crazed madman, he calls the police, the emergency number, and pledges his allegiance to the terrorist group that we were looking to attack next. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? Victims. Melvin Kravitz, 66, a congregation member and volunteer who was stabbed by the attacker. Adrian Dooley, a worshiper who died from a gunshot wound to the chest accidentally fired by a police officer as he helped barricade the synagogue doors. What? Who were they barricading the doors against? Was he like a superhuman or something? How many people would it take to barricade the door closed? And so the oldest one, 66, is the one who died. So in any other circumstances, a 66-year-old dying, as sad as it would be like, yeah, 66, people die at 66. So if this guy just happened to die the night before, and they needed a death for the situation, I'm not saying that's what happened. Maybe this did happen. Maybe they actually did have something along this line go down. I doubt it. Aftermath. 3 other men were seriously wounded. Inquests have been opened into the victims' deaths, and several people have been arrested in connection with the attack, although most were released without charge. The UK increased security at synagogues nationwide following the attack. Gee, that's weird. Because that doesn't happen with anyone else. Why does that? That's literally what happened here. Because of the Grafton Thomas incident, security, they were, New York alone, Cuomo passed demanded $60 million in additional funding and was given it by the government. And the secure community network was beefed up. Like, if you literally read the secure community network's page, they quote that it was because of this and 2 other manufactured incidents that facilitated the creation of this, well, the exponential funding of this endeavor. This is literally the same fucking narrative. No, dumbass. A year ago, I was allowed to have a lot more. A year ago, I was in the thousands. Nice try, though. So, let's see. Let's see if there's actually any video of it.
Everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away!
Oh, so this is after the fact. So there's already... No, this is on... What? So he's moving? He's crawling on the ground? What is going on here? Okay, so that wasn't... Couldn't see anything there. Like, there's nothing convincing there. And now you have a guy taking pictures of things with his cell phone, a guy in SWAT gear. Let's see what it says. A man was shot dead by police officers after he drove a car into pedestrians and stabbed a security guard at the British synagogue. Okay, so if it was a security guard, it probably wasn't a friar. Oh, that's crazy. Haters always hate because they hate themselves. Sure, I would like to hear the recording where he called the cops. Yeah, right. Oh, look, the pedophile, the person who had acknowledged being a proud pedophile. If anybody can find out who that profile is, do everything you can to ensure that they pay the right price. But this is of someone that admitted that they are not just a proud pedophile, a very proud pedophile. Like this just happened the other day, a couple weeks ago. And then for multiple days afterward, they came back to reiterate that they were very, very proud. Nobody makes jokes like that. Nobody pretends like that. You know, this is somebody that outed the whole thing by doing that. I've been telling you for the longest time that I have caught the ire of friar pedophiles. And this is, obviously the friar aspect's been shown many, many times. But no one's actually flat out admitted that they're a fucking proud pedophile like this person finally did. And they did. So everything I've been telling you this whole time, especially considering this is the one person that sits here and brags about having been stalking me for 10 plus years. I've been stalking him for 10 years. Yeah, it's repulsive. And that's what I've been telling you, and I'm crazy because of it. Well, we now know. And if you can help me figure it out, like that's when I tell you, or ask you who has the motivation to stalk someone for 10 years. Make fake profile after fake profile because one gets blocked. I'm not blocking this one because I want you guys to see that shit. and it wouldn't matter anyway. They just make a new one. They literally just make profile after profile. Who does that? How does that work? Does that sound like normal behavior? Has any of you ever have any of you ever obsessed over someone that A, you didn't like, and B, didn't like you for over 10 years? It's completely one-sided. You sit there and watch that person for hours every single day. Who would do that? I still don't think it's any one individual. Because I don't think I'm that interesting to anybody that they would, like it's one thing if you agree with me and you found somebody that's finally saying the things you want to hear said. But to claim that it's you don't like me and yet you basically live for me, that just doesn't even make any sense. And so what would make sense is, based on what I talk about, that I'm being monitored and interfered with by those I oppose. And who do I oppose? The pedophiles and the friars. And even though I only have 7 viewers and I'm only allowed to have 7 viewers, they know that the worst thing that could possibly happen is me get any sort of real platform. Because I do appeal and I am smart. And they know that if my voice was heard, they would have a really tough time, especially the pedophiles. Because I advocate for not just their killing. I think we should, set up a system where people who have that ability to do that, because there are a lot of us out there that are really fucked up. And some people out there, they, people that like watching horror movies and all that shit, playing dress up, pretending to kill people all the time. I bet if they could kill someone and torture someone and do all that legally, they would. So if you admit to being one of those people and you sign up for the program and you agree that you could, in any sort of situation, you will cooperate with the authorities if you're any sort of suspect in anything, and do everything you can to prove your innocence. And as long as you stay on the clean and narrow, straight and narrow, whenever these pedos get caught, you get one. And you can do to that piece of shit whatever you want to do. And you won't get in any trouble. You want to cut a hole in his head and fuck his brain, you're more than welcome to. However you want to do it. You know? I think if we did that, we feed two birds with one seed. Because all those people that are out there actually killing innocent people because they have that inside them would no longer need to do that. They could fulfill whatever urges they had on this piece of shit. Right? And so it eliminates civilians from being victimized, and it provides a true deterrence punishment, because, you know, anybody that fucks with kids, makes these fake profiles and shit, those are cowards. These are the weakest, most cowardly piece of shit, Mr. Krabs kind of characters ever. They're friars, man. They're weak pieces of shit. They stink. Right? And so they know that they can't actually, like, physically defend themselves. Especially if they're delivered to somebody already in bondage. And once that door closes, you know, what are they going to do? They're not going to fight back. There's no IDF standing behind them. They're not going to fight back. And I think that's how we handle crime. I definitely don't want to pay for pedophiles to be in prison forever, especially in a protected wing where, you know, they have their Super Nintendos and shit, and there's no Gen Pop access to them. Fuck that. 3 hots and a cot for the rest of their lives? No thanks. They need to be eliminated. If you're a rapist of any sort, and I mean like we're not stupid, right? It's not cut and dry, this, that, and the other thing. If the dude is 17 and the girl is 15, no, come on. That's not a reason to kill somebody. But if you're a predator, yeah. If you prey on somebody, it's something different. It's something that obviously we can all see what it is. Then yeah, no, fuck you, you're gone. Who doesn't think that way? Like, if you don't think that way, you better put yourself in that list, boy. But let's go back to this. 2 people were killed and 3 others injured in a terrorist attack. The attack happened on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Friar calendar. The suspect had appeared to be wearing a vest with an explosive device, but it was later deemed not viable. The suspect had been identified as a 35-year-old British citizen of Syrian descent. Because that's what matters. He has Syrian descent. The UK Prime Minister promised more security for the friar community in Britain. That makes sense. They're in so much danger.
Must be clear. It is a hatred that is rising once again. And Britain must defeat
Look at this doofus.
once again. But to every Jewish person in this country, I also want to say this. I know how much fear you will be holding inside of you. I really do.
Okay, what would they have to fear? Like, the part that always gets skipped is like the step 2, right? Step 1, they're being attacked. Step 2, they're the victims. Or step 3, they're the victims. But nobody ever says, well, wait, why? You know, why is any of this happening? You know, and so the thing that's going to be absolutely avoided like the plague when it comes to this narrative is so the thing that's being hidden is that the door that he was trying to get into had a whole bunch of elderly people and children in there. And they weren't like the grandchildren or the children of those people, but it was children and elderly in this room on the day of the holiest day of the year. And you know, where it's all about redemption. Like that's what Yom Kippur is. It's the redemption holiday. The casting off the sins and whatever. So think about that shit, man. What was actually going on there? I know the UK has had cameras everywhere for a very long time. And yet, this is the second time there was an attack that doesn't stand up to scrutiny, that there's not footage of it. A few years ago, there was the attack with the brothers, the African brothers or whatever, and they had axes or something like that. And they ran the car off the road, and then they attacked a guy, and they were cutting him up, or something crazy. It was something stupid. But what was going on behind those closed doors? You know, it's time we start asking those kinds of questions. And shit, if I'm wrong and it's nothing, then okay, I don't care about being wrong. Just because I'm wrong sometimes doesn't mean I'm not right sometimes. And if I'm wrong about anything, then yeah, let's hear it. Like, I don't feel like less of a person. I feel like, you know, it's how I learn. If I'm wrong, then I learn more. But you get these narratives where, you know, one person is actually supposedly killed. It's always an old person. Apparently somebody was accidentally shot and killed by police, which means that police officers should have like manslaughter charges, right? Like, what the fuck are we talking about there? That's really strange. UK detains suspect in Heaton Park synagogue terror attack. Oh, shit. Yesterday, somebody just happened to get detained over it. Police arrest a man allegedly linked to Yom Kippur attack in Manchester. That's 5 days ago. Oh, here it is. Manchester synagogue attack. The Manchester synagogue attack was a terrorist attack that, and this is locked page, okay, so I didn't edit this, right? Occurred October 2nd, 2025, during the Friar holiday of Yom Kippur, when a man drove a car into pedestrians before stabbing worshippers at the Heaton Park Hebrew congregation, a synagogue in Higher Crumpsall, a northern suburb of the city of Manchester in northwest England. So, he drove his car into people and then was stabbing people, and one person died? I mean, why, what is the hope here? I can't wrap my head around you're going to get yourself killed making some sort of statement that you call the police and tell them I pledge my allegiance to the Islamic State. I'm doing a terrorist attack just in case anybody wants to know. And you have what, like a little steak knife or something? I mean, I know the UK doesn't have guns, but I would imagine there are other things you can do. And to think like he was actually drove his car into, like, think about any other time you've ever heard about somebody driving a car into a group of people. There are multiple casualties along with multiple people severely injured for the rest of their lives. Every single time. A friend of mine on Facebook, his name's Ron Sampson, was actually the one that happened in Germany over the summer. He was almost hit by the guy. Like, he said he pushed his way around a lady because she was walking too slow. And if he hadn't have done that, he'd have been hit. I talked to him literally within like 10 minutes of it happening. And he was all shook up and shit. Like, it really weird to think like that I actually talked to the guy, like I have an actual story about it. But there was a wake of innocence. There's that Robert Brooks guy or whatever his name was that did it in in Wisconsin or something, Minnesota maybe. Killed a bunch of people during the parade. You know, there's always these stories where there was the one that happened on New Year's, this year, right? The guy had the balled up ISIS flag on the back of his truck, and then it was unfoiled for us to see. He didn't have it showing, but they showed it to us. He was ISIS flag, yeah. But every single time, there are multiple casualties. Not only did this guy drive his car into people, he jumped out and started stabbing them, and one person died. What a weirdly fortunate for the you know, the most persecuted people of all time, man. With some weirdly good luck. And the thing is, that's literally how it always happens. As I was saying about the Secure Community Network, talking about the incidents that happened here. You know, you have the Grafton Thomas thing. Grafton fucking Thomas. His name was Grafton. His name was Grafton. Grafton. His name is fucking Grafton. He was perfectly capable of doing this attack. Went into the house during the Hanukkah celebration. Was stabbing people with a machete. They threw furniture at him, so he left. He tried to push into another building, but the congregants blocked the door because they knew somehow. And so he got in his car and then he drove home. And then he was arrested. At first, the story was that they went to his house, kicked in the door, and he was found sleeping in his house. But now the story has been changed to he was arrested while driving. So I know that for a fucking fact. I read it. You can't tell me I didn't read it, so I know that's what the narrative was. It's been changed. He has a history, you know, a criminal, a mental history, but he had a driver. He was driving. He had a car. He had an apartment. Like he was pretty functional, if you ask me. And yet, for some reason, he was found incapable of insane. He was found insane. So he was held in the insane place, in the asylum, and it was like they'd say, well, we'll revisit this case in 6 months, because they tried to make it was this huge hate crime, and they tried to throw all of these crazy charges at him, and they just found him, unsuitable for trial, and And so 6 months later, same thing, 6 months. So the reason that they do that is because if they were to just find him guilty and send him to jail, he could be interviewed. If he's kept in a mental institution, nobody can interview him. So someone like me can't, be like, hey, this doesn't smell right. Let me go ask this guy some questions. Or even a much bigger source couldn't do that. But because of that one story, that was one piece where the only guy that died was some 78-year-old, 72-year-old rabbi who was apparently stabbed and then died like 6 months later. Like, boy, that's weird. The oldest member there, that's the one that again, he died at 70-something years old. Nobody would think twice about it. But apparently he's the one that died a bunch of months later. So you have the one death. And then you had the shooting, synagogue shooting in Philadelphia, which is, again, a completely manufactured event where only the oldest people were supposedly killed. There's literally no footage of any of it. You know how anytime you see a shooting, there's always footage of the innocent people being let out with their hands above their head and then taken to a tent somewhere where they're debriefed and cell phones are wiped, or I don't really know what it is, but every single time you see that, they either have their hands on their head or their hands are, they're treated like they're actually suspects. It's really weird, but you see it in every shooting, mass shooting thing that happens. This time, there were no helicopters flying overhead. The only footage you could find was from like blocks away, where everybody was just kept away, and you could hear fireworks, little pops going off in the background. And supposedly, he gets into a shootout. Okay, so his name is Robert Bowers Jr. They always got to have those three names. And he just appears in the social lexicon in January of 2018. He appears on Gab, which apparently is the white supremacist version of Facebook. Never heard of it, but apparently that's what it is. He just appears on there like, man, I hate the Jays. The only previous evidence of him existing is like a speeding, an interaction with the cops in like 2015 or something, a ticket or something. It goes along with the same thing. Quick jump to Tyler Roberts, the Charlie Kirk guy. They supposedly released the footage of a car accident that he got into 3 years ago. And showing like he's just this cool, calm guy, blah, 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 blah. If you look it up, police keep average footage from accidents and whatnot 90 days at the most, unless specifically asked for otherwise. This accident didn't lead to anything. There was no, just a quick little fender bender and shit was paid, insurance. There was no charges or anything like that. So why would footage from an accident he was in 3 years earlier still exist? You got to ask yourself these questions, people. But this is so Robert Bowers Jr. appears on Gab in 2018. At some point, he takes pictures of like some pistols that he bought, and he's just saying dumb shit that, and no person with any sort of sense would post that shit. That's the kind of shit that's gonna get you in trouble. Why would you ever be that stupid? And then one day he posts like, okay, I've had enough, I'm going in. And he posts a picture of his guns, maybe, I don't remember. But if this is the white supremacist Facebook, and the FBI isn't monitoring it like they do everything else. And a guy who's been posting anti-friar rhetoric and then guns and then says, okay, I'm going in, why isn't he arrested? I know Liam Xmail, stupid ass. I think he's an agent, especially when I found out that he was on the news as a witness to a crime or to a bad accident, and he never said anything about it. But like his whole shtick was just fucking weird and seemingly to make truthers look crazy. But he sent some emails to the head of YouTube or something like that about like if you think this was bad, wait till you see what I can do. Didn't even say he was going in or anything, but just said, I'm a badass. Give me. He wanted his content back, and I guess they wouldn't give it to him. I don't know. But he got arrested at a fucking coffee shop and disappeared for an entire year. Plus, you're telling me Robert Bowers Jr. didn't get arrested? He goes to the synagogue on a Sunday, which isn't their worship day, but goes on a Sunday. And according to the first responder, it looked like I think it was 11 people total. The first 5 people shot, and there were 11 people total. Average age was like 72 or something like that. And it was only that low because there were 2 retarded guys who were brothers whose parents had just died and they had become a ward of the state. So they were like 59 and 61, I think. So they brought the average way down. If it weren't for the 2 brothers, it would have been higher. It was only the most elderly people were killed. So again, if you worked it out that, hey, we're going to pull your relative off the plug on this date for a couple of different people, you have it all set up so that if there's anything that happens, and then one day you get 2 people that have heart attacks on that day, and then another person gets in a car accident, it just works out that you have your 9 people that you can use, and then you're going to obviously off the 2 brothers, so nobody has to take care of them. But the first responder said the first 5 people looked like they were in a line, and they were laid out in a perfectly straight line, like somebody had, like they were standing in a line when they got shot. Obviously pointing out how ridiculous it is. And then this guy supposedly went around shooting only the most elderly people he could find, and then the 2 retarded brothers. Does that even make sense? And then apparently he gets into a shootout with the cops. They hit him in the leg. He's drug out of the facility while yelling all sorts of expletives. Taken to the hospital where he continues to yell expletives. Taken from the hospital where he continues to yell expletives. Taken directly to a courtroom situation where he is defiant. He's found guilty. And then he's shipped off to Magic Prison where nobody gets to see him within days. Legs all bandaged up and shipped off to prison so nobody can talk to him. Who knows where, who knows like what. Nobody wants to interview this guy. We still talk about Charlie Manson, who didn't kill anybody. We still talk about fucking Jack the Ripper, who's from the 80s or some shit, 1890s. Yet we have guys like this, this guy who shot apparently 11 people, and nobody wants to interview him and find out what the fuck is wrong with you, you psycho. Seems strange, right? We still talk about Dahmer. Think about all the serial killers and killer, that are still, shows are still made about them today. They're still part of the lexicon today. And yet you have this guy, Robert Bowers Jr., who nobody wants anything to do with. But because of that, and then there's one other thing that happened recently where apparently there was a hostage situation where 4 of them were taken hostage. What was it? One of them, something happened with one of them. I know they weren't killed, but the other 3 caused a distraction and escaped based on this training that apparently they all go through that we don't know about, but the guy was crediting the training regime that they all go through for those situations to know what to do. They caused the distraction and then he got it. But literally it's like it's next to no casualties. None of it is very believable. It all seems manufactured, and it leads to an exorbitant amount of money being funneled into this one community. So let me read this real quick. So this guy, again, he drove a car into pedestrians before stabbing worshipers, of which only 1 died. Okay. 3 people were killed in the incident, including the attacker. So 2 people were killed. See how they're trying to exaggerate the numbers? 3 people were killed, including the attacker. And a worshiper who were both shot dead by police. So he only officially killed 1 person. 3 other people were injured and treated in the hospital. 1 was hit by the car. 1 had a stab wound. And a 3rd was wounded by police gunfire. So 2 of the 5 people affected, the victims, were by police. 1 person was hit by the car, and 1 person had a stab wound. The incident was declared a terrorist attack later that day. The attacker, Jihad al-Shami, was a 35-year-old British citizen born in Syria who lived in nearby Prestwich. Yom Kippur is the holiest day of the Friday calendar, a day centered around atonement and repentance. I'm not lying. With full fasting and asceticism. What is this? Asceticism is a lifestyle characterized by abstinence from sensual pleasures, often for the purpose of pursuing spiritual goals. Asceticism has not been a dominant theme within Judaism, but minor to significant ascetic traditions have been a part of Jewish spirituality. Look at that goofy ass drawing. Oh my God, that looks so silly. Ashkenazi Hasidism, a Jewish mystical and ascetic. So this is just, we get into some spiritually stuff. I want to be done, but I got myself into this. I got to finish. Accompanied by extended prayer services and confession of sins. British friars have raised concerns about increased vandalism at synagogues and anti-Semitic comments online and in person, latterly due to the Gaza war ongoing since 2023. I mean, again, so I was asking this question for a while. What is this hotline or whatever that they call anytime they don't like what somebody says and it's considered an anti-Semitic attack and it gets chalked into the counter so that, you know, they can say, oh, now it's been this many anti-Semitic attacks. Because the vast, vast, vast majority of what is considered an anti-Semitic attack in all cases is that somebody said something that somebody didn't like. Usually about the Gaza war or, you know, something bad about Israel or whatever, but it's almost never is it an actual physical attack. And so I wondered what it was, but I found out it's the secure community network. And so I guess that's how that works. That's another part of the 90% of American friars being associated with this network is I don't know, I guess it's an app on their phone or something, I don't really know. But they then go to the app and say, hey, this happened. Click this button, boop, 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 anti-Semitic attack, this date, logged in the thing. Somebody said something I didn't like. And that's just crazy. It's crazy to think that, like, you know, saying something, even if it's truthful, especially if it's truthful, but because somebody doesn't like it, it then becomes a terrorist attack. Like, that's just not fair. And that doesn't exist anywhere else. Like, if black people had that same network, I think people just wouldn't believe it. I don't think people would believe it if black people reported all of the racist incidents they experience on a daily basis. I don't think people would believe it, you know, if Asians or Arabs did the same thing. But, you know, the anti-Semitic comments online and in person. But I don't know if you've ever actually seen somebody interact with them, but 100% of the time, they are the hostile, unreasonable ones. 100% of the time, you never see one of them going, here, let me engage you on your beliefs, and I want to show you what you're wrong about and what you have misconceptions on and all that. I'd like to answer that, and let's have a nice heart-to-heart, respectful conversation. And if they do say that, immediately it falls apart. They immediately start attacking people. It's if I'm wrong, then show me the video. Tell me the video to look it up. I'll look it up. Did the comment section get shut off again? Are we fucking serious? These have also been positioned as part of an ongoing wave of anti-Semitism in Britain that was rising even before the war began. So, real quick, Semitism means policy or predisposition favorable to Jews. Policy meaning rules and regulations. Predisposition is the weird one, because if your father's side all has cancer, that means you have a predisposition to have cancer. This is genetic programming that is beyond, you know, conscious effort. This is something that goes deeper than the surface. So policy and predisposition, that word was chosen on purpose. It wasn't like, oh, I guess it kind of means, no, they did that on purpose. Because they want you to have a genetic programming telling you that they get favor. Basically, it just means it's supremacy. If you go into any situation where it's a goyim versus them, they're going to get the rules, regulations, and predisposition favorable to them. If you're voting on something, they're going to get that's what Semitism is. So anti-Semitism, which was a hyphenated word for 100 plus years until 2021. Yeah, 2021, when they had hearings, official sort of government hearings, to change the spelling officially from ANTI hyphen capital SEMITISM to Anti-Semitism. All one word. And the reason they did that was expressly because they didn't want people thinking anti-Semitism opposed something called Semitism. They didn't want us to know the truth, because that was the truth. In the 1880s, the term was coined to oppose the unreasonable situation that was occurring, that led to World War I and all that other shit. It was the Semitism that wasn't deserved. You know, nobody should have any sort of favor. I mean, it's not like it's just them. Nobody gets favor. Everybody should be judged on their actions and contribution. It doesn't matter who your parents had sex. Good. At least the comments aren't off. Friar security groups, including Community Security Trust, issued warnings earlier in the summer for friar people to be, quote, vigilant and follow the strict security measures that are in place at communal buildings, events, and arenas, such as locking doors when not in use, conducting security sweeps, and avoiding congregating outside communal buildings. I mean, just think about it. If your group has to be like that, like, again, we just keep avoiding the reason why. Why do you have to live in such incredible fear? It sounds like a really awful position to be in. So, are we going to ask why you feel this need? Like, why are you in so much danger? Why are you in so much fear of retaliation? And, like, nobody else does that, right? Nobody else walks around like that other than, like, famous people, but there are videos all over where auditors stand outside synagogues and they literally just get attacked. The people come out and they're losing their shit over it. It's pretty funny, but it's dangerous. They're crazy. They're fucking crazy. Worshippers had gathered at the synagogue for a Yom Kippur service, which began at 9 a.m. October 2nd. What day was that? Witnesses report that they had seen a man later identified as the attacker, Jihad al-Shami, quote, acting suspiciously outside the synagogue approximately 15 minutes prior to the attack. He left after being confronted by security. Oh, so I wonder if he was just minding his own fucking business and they attacked him. They roughed him up. They said some shitty things. They did something really shitty. You know how we will never know because they killed him. How do we know he didn't see something? How do we know he didn't see all the kids being led into the room? He was spotted by a doorbell camera walking towards his home at 9:22 a.m. with the same camera spotting a vehicle matching that used by al-Shami during the attack, driving towards Heaton Park, Hebrew Congregation Synagogue at Crumsell 4 minutes later. So, like, that's how close he lived? I'd like to see the actual map. I'd like to see how much ground he actually covered. So, he's seen approximately 15 minutes beforehand. We're acting suspiciously, where he's then confronted and kicked out of the area, like the sidewalk or whatever. Like, how could he be confronted? Like, that's really weird. I want to know what that confrontation was. I wonder if there's body cam of it, or at least there was. But that probably took a few minutes. So then how far away did he live that he was able to walk to his house where he's seen at 9:22 on the doorbell cam, and then 4 minutes later a car is seen speeding by? No, just driving, not speeding, driving. So he was just driving towards it then. So he walked all the way home. Did he go get his knife, or did he already have the knife? Got his car and then drove all the way back. Police were called to the synagogue at 9:31 a.m. after callers reported that a driver had driven into pedestrians and begun stabbing people. So that, again, that takes time. So by 9:31, that accounts for shock, and so you got to think like this is what, 9:26. When did the actual attack take place? Do we not have that exact time frame? Because there's nothing saying here about what time it was. Residents later reported seeing a man with a knife jump out of a moving car that had been driven recklessly. He began stabbing people. Others saw people on the ground bleeding. It was later confirmed at an inquest that after Al-Shami had driven into the security guard and crashed into an exterior metal gate and wall at approximately 9:30, narrowly missing 66-year-old Melvin Kravitz, he exited his vehicle and immediately stabbed Kravitz. Well, I guess, why is the security guard friar? Why is he working security that's a weird thing. 66-year-old, you have a 66-year-old man working the security? Okay. Making stabbing motions towards his upper torso, neck, and head. So, this story isn't accurate, right? Because only 3 people were injured. 1 was supposedly hit by the car. 1 was this guy stabbing. And then 1 was shot by the police and lived. The other person was shot by the police and killed. So who are these people that were lying on the ground bleeding? That doesn't make any sense. And then this who was he jumping out and stabbing? Only 1 person had a stab wound, apparently. And you can't say that other people got stabbed and didn't do anything. Of course, if you get stabbed, you don't know what's on that knife. You're gonna get that looked at. It's hard to heal up from a stab wound. Firearms officers were deployed at 9:34 a.m. while a major incident was declared by Greater Manchester Police 3 minutes later. Operation Play-Doh was also declared at the same time, a protocol used in response to suspected terrorist attacks. Are they saying there was a training operation going on that was simulating the exact same thing happening, so people didn't know what was real? Is that what's going to happen here? Let me just see something. Operation Play-Doh is a British omnibus governmental protocol, enacted in the event of a major national or regional emergencies requiring the immediate coordination of multiple fast responders and national government echelons, most notably Cabinet Office briefing rooms, more formally known as COBRA, is convened. The Joint Operating Principles, JOP, automatically come into play. Operation Play-Doh is used by police when responding to a marauding terror attack. Okay. The incident was formally declared a terrorist attack later that day. The attacker himself called 999 and pledged allegiance to Islamic State. Eyewitnesses inside the synagogue praised Rabbi Daniel Walker for protecting congregants by locking them inside the synagogue and keeping the attacker out before moving them to safety. He locked the door. He's being praised as a hero because he locked the door. According to a witness inside the synagogue, the attacker banged his knife on the glass as he tried to get in, shouting, "This is what they get for killing our children." Shots were fired by firearms officers at 9:38 a.m., killing al-Shami as he ran towards them aggressively while carrying a knife and wearing what was clearly presented as a suicide belt. Just so ridiculous. Just so ridiculous. 53-year-old Adrian Dalby, a worshiper, was also shot in the chest and killed by police, either a single stray or possibly deflected bullet while he was blocking the synagogue doors. He was pronounced dead at the synagogue at 10:15 a.m. That is fucking crazy. Paramedics arrived at 9:41 a.m. and treated 4 members of the public for injuries caused by the vehicle and stab wounds. But that's not true. 4 people were seriously injured in the attack and were taken to the hospital. Again, what? Melvin Kravitz, who was pronounced dead later that morning, Andrew Franks, who was also stabbed by al-Shami, Bernard Agmang, and Yanni Finley, who was wounded by police gunfire, believed to have also been blocking. So it's actually 2 people were wounded by police gunfire. That is since when are the British that trigger happy that they're just firing so many shots and missing so tremendously that they're going past the guy and into the door, killing 1 and injuring 2? Do you not like that's unheard of kind of stupidity. That's negligence on every single level possible. I would imagine somebody's going to own the crown because of that shit. Around noon, a bomb disposal unit was deployed to the scene because police believe the attacker was wearing a suicide belt. Police said that they were unable to confirm whether the attacker was dead until the investigation concluded. Oh, he was just faking it. Investigators will later state the device was found not to be viable. At 1:23 p.m., a loud controlled explosion was reported, which was later confirmed to be from the police gaining access to the attacker's car. Police presence was increased at every synagogue in the greater Manchester area in the immediate aftermath of the attack. That is insane. We have a section on the attacker. The attacker was identified as Jihad al-Shami, a 35-year-old Syrian-born man who as a young child had migrated to the UK with his family from Horns, following his father, who had already settled in England in the 1990s. Very young then. He was might have just been born. He had to be born in 1990, so he had naturalized as a British citizen in 2006 while still a minor. Well, if he was 35 years old, he couldn't have been a British citizen, or he couldn't have been a minor in 2006. I guess he would have been 15. Yeah, I guess. I guess he would have been 14 then. Yeah, okay. Al Shamy grew up in Prestwich around 2010 when the family moved to nearby Crumpsall. The Guardian reported that it appeared that Al Shamy had Islamic marriages to 3 different women. So this guy has 3 wives, probably multiple children, and he is just going to throw that all away by strapping on a fake explosive device, getting a knife, driving into invincible people, jumping out and stabbing literally 2 people. Like, the police were worse than anybody else in this. The police wounded 2 people and killed 1. He did less than that. He wounded 1 person and killed another one, supposedly. Oh, no, and then he hit, no, so he wounded 2 people, actually. That's fucking insane. 3 different women. Al Shamy fathered 2 children with one of the wives and lived in Prestwich with his wife, their children, and his mother. Just gave that all up. In 2025, Al Shamy was arrested on suspicion of an alleged rape earlier in the year. He's got 3 wives at home and he's out raping. One of his wives, a Muslim convert, from whom he had initially hidden his other marriages and whose request for a divorce he had refused, reported to police after the attack that he had also raped her. She described Al Shamy as controlling and abusive. 2 women made further accusations after the attack, including one of his wives and a woman who claimed that he had groomed her after meeting each other on a Muslim dating site. The mosque at which Al Shamy worshipped, Masjid Sunan Nelson, was reported to the Charity Commission in November 2023 by the National Secular Society for Divisive and Anti-Semitic Rhetoric. Like, I guarantee if you go into synagogues and you know, any sort of place where there are a lot of you're not going to hear a bunch of, man, those Muslims, I wish they didn't hate us so much. They're so great. I just like them. You know, I see them as equal and I just want them to respect us and like us the same way we like them. You'll never hear anything like that. What's apothed? What's apothed? What's apothed? That's a great question. What's apothed indeed? Oh, Jesus. The mosque's Imam al-Abbas Naveed had referred to friars as treacherous in October 2023. Oh my gosh. He needs to be reported. And that, can you imagine that? Somebody sitting there waiting for it. And then he says it, and they're like, oh shit, we got him. He said that they're treacherous. Let's report that. Let's make that known all over the world. That he said we're treacherous. Didn't like that very much. And it taught that, and had taught that a husband has the first and last word in a household. Literally, like, that's how Hasidic families live. That's how lots and lots of Christians live. Acting like the Muslims are so bad because they do it is just, kind of silly. Sunan Nelson is associated with the Salafi movement. At the time of the attack, Al Shamy resided in the Langley Crescent area of Prestwich, located 2 miles from the synagogue. So, So within 15 minutes, he's approached, confronted, and then walks 2 miles. How fast is this guy walking miles? Because he wasn't seen running in the video, he was seen walking. How fast does the average person walk a mile? Let's see. How fast does the average human walk a mile? The average person walks a mile in 15 to 20 minutes. Oh, I fucking lost it. What the fuck? So this guy, within 15 minutes, walked 2 miles after being confronted. Do you guys see a problem here? That just seems a little weird, don't you think? I mean, I'm not making any of this shit up. You can see it's all right here, and it's a locked up page, so can't say any of the normal shit, right? How did this guy walk 2 miles in less than 15 minutes? I want to know how far away from his house was the camera that picked him up. Because remember, he then has to walk to his house. I don't know if he walks straight to his house and just gets right in his car, or he has to go get the knife. Like, there's details there, but logistics always seem to blow the fucking thing apart. And I don't know if you guys are following me here, but if you think I'm wrong or I'm missing something, by all means, let me know. But this is interesting. So we found our first major plot hole, because even if he ran that 2 miles back to his house to be seen, he ran that, again, you have to see, he's seen 15 minutes earlier, then he's confronted. So the confrontation is going to take some sort of time frame. 5 minutes, maybe. I can't imagine he was confronted and they were like, get out of here. He was like, okay, I'm leaving. There was probably some sort of exchange that took place. But it wouldn't even matter, because there's no way he can be seen. I mean, that camera had to be like almost immediately by his house. If he's seen walking by it and then driving back by 4 minutes later, that camera had to be within a couple of houses of his. So he would have had to have walked that full 2 miles, ran that full 2 miles within 10 minutes. I'm just crazy here? I'm just a pothead? If you don't see something wrong here, I'd love to know. According to one of his neighbors, al-Shami didn't stand out and never spoke about politics. Oh, wow, what a surprise. It's never someone like me. It's never someone who's outwardly like, we need to do something, fix things, make things better. It's always the guy you didn't expect. He had not been a part of the Prevent Counterterrorism program that tries to identify people at risk of being radicalized. So the system didn't work. Funny how those systems only work when the guys led into it. Every time that it wasn't an operation that was caught up, they weren't led into it, the times that was actually real, we stopped it. Like the shoe bomber in the plane and shit, we stopped it. It had gotten through the system. We stopped it. But it just doesn't happen like that. Like NCIS and Criminal Minds and shit tries to make you think it's not like that. We aren't like that. So wait. This guy had 3 wives and had, rape charges and shit, and wasn't on the watchdog list for being radicalized? Doesn't he fit the bill for someone to be radicalized? Really kind of strange, huh? Although al-Shami was not known to counterterrorism police, he had a criminal record with convictions for several minor offenses at the time of his death, was free on bail under investigation for rape. Police are also investigating if he was the author of a death threat to the conservative MP John Howell in 2012 after Howell expressed support for Israel. They're just, man, well, let's try to stick it to this. He's dead, so we can't deny it. Following the attacks, al-Shami's father released a statement believed to have been made on behalf of the family denouncing the attacks. Work by investigative journalists uncovered social media posts where the father had previously expressed support for the Hamas-led attacks on IDF bases during. So now they were attacks on IDF bases? Well, that's not even. If Hamas was attacking IDF bases, then that's protocol. They didn't violate. They were attacking the military. That's a weird way to word it, don't you think? During the October 7, 2023 attacks and the 2024 Iranian airstrikes on Israel, the posts were deleted after the reporting. The national head of counterterrorism police announced the attack was being treated as a terrorist incident and that 3 people other than the assailant have been arrested in 2 separate areas. 2 men in their 30s in Crumpsaw and a woman in her 60s in Prestwich were arrested on suspicion of the commission, preparation, and investigation of acts of terrorism following the attack. That definitely didn't seem like a well-crafted, thought out thing. Obviously, with the lack of success, the fact that the police were equally as culpable in this, that didn't quite work out so well. 3 more arrests occurred the following day, consisting of a man and 2 women aged from 18 to their mid-40s. On October 3rd, police were seeking to further detain all 6 people. On October 5th, police were granted a further 5 days to question 4 people on suspicion of preparation for terrorist attacks. 2 men aged 30 and 32 and 2 women aged 46 and 61. On November 27th, a 31-year-old man was arrested in Manchester Airport by police in connection with the attack. Investigators say they were still trying to locate and examine all the suspects in the electronic examine all of the suspect's electronic devices, looking for clues as to what radicalized him, and are looking for an Islamist motive, but are looking for evidence to confirm that, and are looking for an Islamist motive, but are looking for evidence to confirm or refute that theory. Well, the fact that you can't find it and you're just sort of making that up seems kind of weird. When did he make the phone call? Reactions. Couldn't care less about the reactions. The reactions are much longer than anything else that's been provided so far. A man later identified as Markel Eibel called the Sinai Synagogue in Roundhay, Leeds, on October 6th, claiming to have planted a bomb at the synagogue that would explode the following day. He was charged by police on October 7th and pleaded guilty to the following day to calling in a fake bomb threat. He was sentenced to 10 months imprisonment on October 30th. On October 16th, the synagogue reopened 2 weeks after the attack. On October 17th, a security guard injured in the incident when he was struck by the car being driven by al-Shami was discharged from the hospital. I thought he died. On October 21st, Prince Charles at the visit him and said, okay, that's it. So that's the end of that narrative. And that's some fucked up shit. And I'm done. I'm so exhausted. I didn't want to be here this long. So you have yourself a fucking great day. I don't know what that all means for you. But to me, that was... The timing just... It's just like everything else that whether it's the San Bernardino thing or the Vegas thing or any of it. When you look at the timing... The logistics, it just don't make no sense. So, I hope y'all check out the links in the description. You have yourself a wonderful fucking day, and you pedophiles, you kill yourself.